Hi everyone. This is a talk that I hoped I'd be delivering in person to you, but I'm glad I've got the opportunity to do it remotely instead. I want to share 10 lessons that I think you've probably learned from your undergraduate research, which I think will also help your future career. My hope is that if you've been successful, you're going to recognize these lessons already. But sometimes it takes someone else just to spell these out to you. And I think these lessons are going to be useful whatever direction your career takes you, be this more education research or some form of professional practice. So, my first lesson to you is to challenge convention. Good research starts with some idea for doing things differently. Now, when you started your undergraduate research projects, you may have wanted to do something ambitious because you thought this was something that hadn't been done before. And perhaps after discussing this with your supervisor, you probably discovered there was a reason why um, what you want to do hadn't been done before. But if you look at some of these reasons, this could have led you to a hypothesis for doing something differently that might go against how things are done right now. And this idea you might have had could have been fuzzy, but research refines it. And over the years, I've been impressed at how well undergraduates have been bold and followed through with the research into these ideas and thought about new ideas, new thinking, and developed new knowledge that I would never have thought possible. My second lesson to you is to accept that pitching is hard. One of the hardest parts of any project is writing a proposal for it. Many, quite possibly most, undergraduate project proposals I've taken on have gone through several rounds of revision until both I and my supervisors are happy that a proposal is viable. And you're going to encounter proposals throughout your career in some form. You want to do an MSc, you'll need to do a dissertation and write a proposal. If you want to do a PhD, you have to write a proposal. If you want to try and win business, you've got to write proposals. The difference is that you won't get so many changes to revise a proposal or feedback on why it might have been unsuccessful. Now, proposals are important because research and innovation more generally is risky, and your proposal is a pitch for why a supervisor, a funder, or even a future client should trust you with their time or their money to follow through. So you have to accept this is hard and keep revising it and keep getting feedback on it until it's good enough to move forward. My next lesson to you is to realize that you don't have enough time. Now, your undergraduate project is the first and may well be the only time in your life that you'll have the time to do uninterrupted research. And even then, you've probably felt time poor at times. Now, as you get more experience, what you will find is that the only solutions to this problem are one, become good at multitasking, two, buy time by writing proposals to win funding for PhD students or research assistants to help you, or three, preferably both. Now, it's also worth remembering at this point that anyone you need help from, also doesn't have enough time, which is why it's so important for you to make the most of your time and particularly to make the most of the time other people give you. My next piece of advice is to cherish your mentors. Mentors take many forms. In research projects or research degrees, these will often be your supervisors. Some companies have mentoring schemes where somebody sufficiently senior can be a sounding board for any ideas you have, or can give you advice if you need some direction about some decision you're going to take. Mentors are usually volunteers, and even if they are paid, they'll invest more time in your mentoring than they actually get paid for. Now, you may not appreciate it, but mentors are actually actively looking out for you and tracking the direction of your work, even if it looks like they aren't interested. And they often enjoy seeing the direction that your work goes. Mentors are going to find time to give you feedback. They're going to help you grow because in time, these guys are going to act as role models for you for when you eventually become more senior and act as mentors to others. My fifth lesson to you is to write more. Research isn't research until it's written up. But more generally, you write all the time. You write in emails, reports, blogs. Even this presentation contains words. Writing is never easy, but it does improve with practice. And the more you write, the better a writer you'll become. Writing is also never done. So expect to edit over and over and over again until you have some writing that you're happy will resonate with its intended audience, whoever that intended audience is. Next, I want to remind you that serendipity always favours the prepared. The more prepared you are, the luckier you'll be. So you should ensure that you're always prepared as much as you can be. In research, you need to know who's doing related work that you can build upon. The earlier you know this, the better. If you're doing more general research or knowledge work, what collaborators or teams do you need support from? What can you do to ensure the resources you need are available when you need them? Because the more prepared you are, the more likely it is that you'll be able to strike when the opportunities arise. My next lesson to you is to accept that learning is never done. You should always be hungry for new knowledge. An undergraduate degree is the start, not the end of your education. Always take the time to read and keep up to date with what's happening in your field and also more generally. You will never know where your knowledge journey is going to take you when you find new opportunities for research and innovation. Now, as I look back on my career, I think that because I kept reading, writing, and learning new skills, or in my case, new programming languages and technology platforms, I think I was able to see and take advantage of opportunities that would not have otherwise been available to me. My next piece of advice to you is to sleep, or at least make sure you're getting enough sleep. Everybody has a different way of learning. Everyone has different working practices. My most mentally active period is straight after I've woken up. And I found over the years that it can be tempting to pull an all-nighter, but my experience has taught me that working smarter means I need to make sure that I rest my brain. And quite often, once I do that, I will get solutions for things I've been thinking about for several days. Certainly when I'm writing, I will try and make sure that once I've got a first draft, I will stop, sleep, do something else, and not look at any manuscript again until I'm a bit more rested, and I will see things I hadn't seen before. Next, you need to learn to be a critical friend. As your supervisor was to you, you need to learn to be a critical friend for your peers. Now, this means being critical about something to make that something better. Now, be wary about how criticism might be taken. Some people can take criticism badly without realizing the effort the critics take to actually go through your work. Now, if you didn't understand something, then that misunderstanding isn't necessarily your fault. And this should be an opportunity to improve the work, and by doing so, removing this potential for this misunderstanding to happen to others as well. My final lesson to you is to keep networking. Research isn't research until it's shared. Conferences and workshops are great for sharing work, and in doing so, you can find like-minded collaborators for new opportunities. Even in this lockdown, I've seen that many academic workshops are still going ahead, and as I found recently, attendees are just as keen to collaborate and work on new and exciting things as they were before. Finally, I want to remind you that undergraduate research is still research. The lessons that I've mentioned and other lessons you've learned don't become invalid just because you move on to more advanced research or more advanced forms of innovation. Creating new knowledge is challenging, but like me, I hope you'll find it's fun too. Thanks very much for listening, and stay safe wherever you are.